will say I am always very self-conscious when I do the very first episode of a brand new series. I'm hoping that the camera isn't too far away. Why do I always get squeaky bloody chairs? Okay, it is official. We are pressing record. Now, the reason I get quite self-conscious is because the first one's always the most challenging. Okay, let's stop checking ourselves out in the reflection. Do you guys notice how bloody reflective these iPad screens are? Bloody hell. Anyway, I'll stop distracting myself. Welcome to the first breakdown episode for the art of mixing. I'm going to... Anyways, just get straight into it. We're going to look at the clip. I have picked a particular moment, a particular scene in the first episode. I haven't decided if it's called an episode, but we're going with that right now. In the art of mixing, the very first one. Did I say that already? And let's break it down and see what I did. Now, just a caveat, this is the way I like to do mixing. This is my approach, and I hope that it gives you inspiration to be more creative in the way you mix. It isn't just about going from one to another. It's about blending. It's about being creative and experimental in the way you mix. Hence the art of mixing. Let's get into it. It'd be amazing if I had some sound. That'll wake you up. Now, the first thing I would like to point out is that beginning. So what you do notice is you have the effects coming in, right? Now, this is something that's I hope common for most people out there, is the adding of effects. Now, I'm using the in-house effects, which I quite like, particularly on the DJs. They have these models have quite a good range of effects that can be used. Now, I'm not familiar, there's a couple different versions of this, is probably newer ones, but on the setup that I have here, the ability to use the 4 decks with the laptop, the range of effects you have on this model are really good. I really enjoy them. They're very creative and you can do a lot of different things. And I'll encourage you, if you do have some analog effects or inbuilt effects like these within the package or the equipment that you have, you should really try and utilize them to create your own particular sound. And they also just create a new atmosphere for the experience that your listeners are on. At least I hope they're an experience. This isn't a 30-second bass drop every 5 minutes, every 5 seconds. Now here we are just switching because on the panel you have different modules, if you will, and you can select the beat jumps, you can select particular cue points, things of this nature, and you have a range of different selections that you have available. And what I did there, let's just go back a little bit. Here we are just selecting a couple of doubles just to add a little more flavor to what's happening. There isn't much happening right now, and we're just adding our own spice to things. very powerful. Now here, this is something that's a little more, I guess you could say, advanced. It is something that I was hoping that this computer would not make that noise. I am going to, apologies, I'm going to put my computer to sleep. I installed a new hard drive and it's been making that sound. It didn't do the sound, but it makes this like tick, tick, tick sound. It's been driving me bonkers. Yeah, I don't think I installed the hard drive for 100% correctly or whatever. I think I need to do like a refresh, but we ain't got time for that. We've got this to do. What I want to say is that this is, I guess you could say, more of an advanced technique if you want to put, you know, labels on things. And the reason, I guess, the difficulty is higher because you are using the what I would call, or they call the I think it's called noise effect. It's like a wash, essentially bringing in white noise into the mix, and you can essentially create your own sort of build up. That's what we're doing here. There's no build necessarily within this section here, so we're creating that. There you go. So we're doing essentially a sweep, creating a quick sort of, you know, build, and then we're cutting straight into the next cue point. Let's play it one more time. And basically, you know, standard approach, one of the cue points are set to the drop or the next transition where you have more of the, you know, bass elements, and we move on. So that's a I guess trick, if you will, or a element that you can use when a particular song is going on too long, or you want to create your own build. You can essentially use some of the sweep functions or some of the reverbs or filters to create essentially an alternate character and texture, and then use that to transition into the next one, whatever transition you are wanting to go into, whether that be more aggressive or a verse, something of this nature. Let's go. Cool, so here we're just getting the next track ready. As you can see, there's a few things going on here. We're playing the track, listening, because these ones in particular, I wanted to do the best to be authentic in mixing them. Essentially the approach to what Carl Cox talks about, that, you know, you grab a collection of pieces of music and you put them in and you go. What I've done here is I've done that, and I've just added a little bit more preparation and selected and created some cue points that I feel are important moments and aspects I can use. So what I'm doing here is adjusting the, let's see if, here we go. So here, my left hand, the left hand in this picture, not my left hand here, left hand in this picture, we are manually adjusting the tempo because you should be manually adjusting the tempo. That is, that's a no-brainer. If you are watching this, I hope you're doing that. And so here we're checking and we're adjusting and just checking, making sure that it's essentially the section that I want, the piece, that everything's good, there's no issues, standard stuff. And because this is on the fly mixing, I am in this scenario using headphones. In most scenarios when I am doing a show, I tend to not use headphones because I'm quite prepared and I know round about what I want to do and I know the songs very well. In this particular case, I don't know the songs extensively. I know roughly where things are for cue points, but again, I haven't memorized or know them off by heart. So it's important to know. You can tell by the some of the waveforms, but it's always really good to have just your headphones there, just in case, to check and quickly get a reference of what's going on. That was like a super long explanation, but there you go. So here is just another great illustration of using moments, using these break moments. Here you notice there's nothing really happening there, so it just sort of stops. And instead of just being just a pause, which is fine sometimes, you can add a bit of flutter. You can add some effects there to create something unique for that particular moment that only happens once in that whole mix. Okay, so here, as you can see, we add the effect in, and then we press play. Now, we press play because it's at that point where it transitions. I add a bit of a flavor to it, catches your ear, and then we go straight into it. Sometimes when you are sort of doing it, I guess in this way where you're wanting to be within the beat, what helps is vibing with the music. You're listening along with the music and you press play along with the groove. If you just stand there and press play, it doesn't have the same vibe. Again, what we're doing here is we're looking at the waveform, making sure that it's on the grid. Because the songs are in the same tempo and we want to make sure that they're blending well together on the current waveform. Now, that's not to say that you don't want to also listen with the ears. The screen's one thing, and that's important. But we also want to make sure that whatever's on the waveform is translating into what you're hearing. Alright, now, so here, one piece is ending, the other one is coming in, but we haven't played it technically yet because the fader isn't up. So technically we've played it, but the volume isn't up, so we can't hear the piece. So we're adding in some great sort of beat jumps, stuff like that, which I love using. Adding in a reverse, which is another cool technique, but you gotta be careful with it. Here we go. Okay, now it ends, and then if you've timed it well, depending on the 16 bars, 24 bars, etc., you can bring in the next track perfectly near the completion. It doesn't have to be exactly as the piece, the current piece is finishing, but around about where you want it. All I've done here is add a nice effect that I have chosen, and I bring in the fader for the next piece, and it just helps blend in a little bit better. I find that when you blend in a fresh new song without any effects, sometimes it can be a little bit raw, and if you haven't, rehearsed this particular performance, you don't necessarily know if it is going to be slightly awkward without anything. So it's always best just add a little bit of texture underneath to help smooth things around. Again, what you'll notice is that right now we are just adjusting, and we're adjusting the volume as well. Sorry, the low end. I've cut out the low end just to make sure we can bring in the piece, and then we bring in back the low end. So let's watch that one more time. Here we go. A little bit back. Cool. Now, notice I stand corrected. We're still adjusting the effects. The low end that I've cut out so we can bring in the piece is still out. If you listen carefully, you can notice that the low end is completely cut out. Not completely, but it's not 100% there. So you can hear the middle, you can hear the high notes, you can hear a lot of the treble. Now, like I mentioned before, the reverse is a very good effect, but it can be very dangerous. Now you notice here, the low end is much lower. We've cut a lot of it out. So using the reverse is a great opportunity here, because using the reverse with a lot of low end can get funky. So it can get weird. It can get weird for the subs, it can get weird for the sound system, because you're reversing everything. So cutting out a good amount of the low end, you can use the reverse effect a lot better. And that's what we're doing. But you'll notice here, we almost lose it. We almost lose it, but we managed to keep it together. Just there. So, like I said, it's really challenging effect to use, because you can get carried away with it. You are reversing, then you bring it back in, reversing, bringing it back in. And if you go too far, and you can really screw things up. So you have to be very careful with it, but it's a cool effect. And I'm not gonna try and hide, like, oh yeah, no. This is the approach that you have to take if you want to improve yourself and you want to experiment with the different effects. Don't be scared of the effects. Learn the effects. Experiment with them, and each time you do it, you'll get better and better and better. Just because I almost lose it here doesn't mean I'm not going to use it again. I just am very careful next time I use it. Now, if you notice something, if you're very clever in this moment, the low end is back in. So, let's see if you caught that whole thing. Let's watch one more time. Here we go. Adjusting, adding effect, bringing in the next track. Here we go. Low end is still out. Now, playing with the reverse. There we go. Now, I'm going to leave it to you to figure out when exactly that low end came back in. I'm pretty sure you can figure it out. It's pretty self-explanatory. Let's move on. There you guys go. Let's see if it's yeah, the magic. No, it's all good. Just a couple final things I would say here is when you are using the delays, when you are using the reverbs, you have the function, which is fantastic here, of the frequency. So you of or as I should say, the measure of the cycle of the reverb, the delay. So you have the half, you have the quarter, you have the 8 notes. You know, the repetition is your choice. I find that the quarter notes are quite good and generally work well with what I want to achieve, just like here, but adding in just something else on top, adding a bit of ear candy onto the transitions. Something just to make the experience a little more unique and enticing for the audience. So instead of just being, it's, and for me, that adds a lot, adds something nice to the experience. So there, we're just touching knobs, making sure that the main volume tempo is good, just putting it back to the main cue points, they're ready, and you're rocking, you're off to the next thing. Yeah, there you go. I think that went well. There you go. I hope that you enjoyed this first breakdown of one of the moments from the art of mixing. I really enjoyed that. I hope you did too. I do apologize for my Sarah Connor and the Skynet computer right here. It has its own mind. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I hope you learned something, even if you aren't a DJ, even if you are just an observer and enjoy listening to music. I hope that it gives you a bit of a taste behind the scenes of how my brain is thinking, and most of all, I hope that it gives you, particularly for the artists and the mixers and the people who are passionate about the art of DJing. I hope this gives you a bit of inspiration to do your own thing and to perhaps try some of the things I talk about and see if they work for you, see if they can work with some of the songs that you play. Again, this is my approach. This is how I like to do things on the art of mixing. I hope that you create your own the art of mixing. And I shall chat with you on the next breakdown. I'm getting up now because I got to turn the camera off.